Ancient Greece has been a fascination for millions of people all over the world. And why wouldn't it be? It is a civilization filled with mystery and a culture enriched in history, with such profound legendary stories that will blow your minds away. From the adventurous tales of the Odyssey to the astounding battles of the Iliad, from the majestical and breathtaking structure of Parthenon to the beautifully intricate classical sculptures, from the philosophical mind of Socrates to the vanquishing nature of Alexander, ancient Greece has its way of charming every single one of us. And if none of that captured your interest yet, then let me point out that they also used stones as toilet papers. I knew that would get you thinking. So as we have already established, the culture in ancient Greece was extremely vast, and they had many beliefs that they kept close to their heart. From the nourishment of the mind through philosophical thinking to the honor of a warrior in battle, their day-to-day activities were intertwined with their beliefs and values. At the heart of these core beliefs and values lied the worshipping of their Olympian gods, who were so important to their lives that every major decision of the state was made in accordance with the will of their gods. Ancient Greeks were polytheistic, meaning that they believed in the worship of several deities. However, at the core of their religious beliefs were the 12 Olympian gods and goddesses. These 12 gods were worshipped all over Greece, even in the Greek cities around the Black Sea and other colonies in Western Mediterranean. Although it is widely confirmed that every city in Greece believed in all of the Greek gods, some cities were fond of some Greek gods more than the others. For example, the city of Athens was particularly fond of the goddess Athena, while the god of war, Ares, not that god of war, that one, perfect. Ares was worshipped by Sparta. The relationship between humans and gods were primarily based on the act of exchange. Gifts, offerings, and animal sacrifices were a common theme among various religious activities in ancient Greece. Religious events were at the local level, sometimes at altars and then later at temples. Some gods were worshipped at specific events, such as Hera for wedding, or Ares for the matters related to war. Some gods had various festivals dedicated to them, such as Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warcraft, was worshipped in an event known as Halcyon. Zeus was linked with the sacred site of Olympia, in which the Olympic Games were held in his honor. While most of these religious activities seemed quite fun, or even purifying for the soul, there were some that were quite gruesome and extreme. The most notable of these horrifying activities was the ritual of pharmakos, which involved the sacrifice of a human scapegoat for the purpose of purification of the society. A slave or a criminal was chosen and exiled from the community at the time of disaster or crisis, such as famines, invasion, or plagues. While some scholars claim that the pharmakoi were actually sacrificed, most modern scholars reject this idea. They claim that the slaves were beaten and stoned, but not executed. Still, there is a high possibility that some of the victims of this barbaric behavior were killed too. Quite the horrifying picture, isn't it? Well, if you think about it, human history is filled with tribes offering human sacrifices to please some sort of supernatural deity. And it seems ancient Greece was part of such activities too. Overall, the ancient Greeks used their religion and mythology to explain the world around them. And most of their activities were lighthearted compared to the ritual of pharmakos. Now, on the topic of Greek mythology, it is just full of amazing characters. From heroes such as Hercules, or Achilles, or even Jason, to villains like Medusa or Cronus. However, like we established earlier, It was the 12 Olympian gods that were the backbone of ancient Greek culture. These 12 gods and goddesses were Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, Artemis, goddess of hunt, Poseidon, the god of the sea, Ares, god of war, Hephaestus, god of handicraft, Apollo, god of the sun, Dionysus, god of drama and wine, Athena, goddess of wisdom and warcraft, Hermes, the herald of the gods, Demeter, goddess of harvest and culture, Hera, goddess of woman and marriage, and last, but certainly not least, the god Zeus, who was the god of thunder and the chief god among all gods. But how did these gods come into existence? Well, to answer this question, we go to one of the earliest Greek literary sources, the Theogony and Work and Days by Hesiod. This oral poet is thought to have existed between 750 and 650 BCE, around the same time as when the Homeric tales, the Iliad and Odyssey, took the form that we know them in. Hesiod accounts the events on which the entire Greek culture was predicated on. Our origin story begins with chaos, which was an absolute nothingness. A dark void, one might say, where there was no concept of time and space, no light or no life. Absolutely nothing. From that void slowly emerged 6 beings: Gaia, Tartarus, Eros, Erebus, Hemera, and Nyx. These 6 beings are referred to as the primordial gods. Gaia, who was the earth, was so fertile that it gave birth to Uranus, the heaven, without any male assistance. At dusk, Uranus and Gaia came together in a union, and in the blink of a moment, they fell in love with each other. The heaven and the earth combined together in a beautiful bond of love, and it was through their love that several beings came into existence. These beings included the Hecatoncheires, creatures with hundreds of arms and several heads, and the Cyclops, who were powerful, hideous, one-eyed beings. Alongside such creatures, Uranus and Gaia also gave birth to 12 extremely powerful gods that came to be known as the Titans. But the celestial god Uranus was far from your ideal father. He hated the sight of his own children. His hatred grew so intense that he banished all of them to the depths of Tartarus, deep in Gaia's womb, and told her that they would not be creating any more of such hideous creatures. Disgusted and angered by this act, the Titans revolted in violence and beat the walls of Tartarus. The pain of her womb constantly being hit by these powerful creatures was too unbearable for Gaia. She decided to plot a plan to get these creatures out of her and free herself and them. The goddess asked one of her children to dethrone Uranus, but all of the Titans rejected the offer, except for Kronos, who was the most cunning and most ambitious of all the Titans. Receiving a scythe made from diamonds, Kronos headed towards the heaven and challenged his own father for the throne of the gods. He attacked Uranus with the scythe and injured him badly, causing the entire sky to turn blood red. Kronos then castrated his own father and threw his testicle into the ocean, from which arose Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. That was the event that caused the heaven and the earth to come apart. Kronos then proceeded to rescue his brothers and freed them from the depths of Tartarus. He, however, did not rescue the Hecatoncheires and even the Cyclops, as, just like his father, he also considered them hideous creatures that needed to be locked away. Kronos became the ruler of all gods after betraying his father, with his sister wife Rhea as his consort and the other Titans in his court. He was unstoppable. But before Uranus died, he made a prophecy to Kronos that just like how he betrayed his father, his offspring will one day overthrow him too. Out of the fear of that prophecy, each time his wife Rhea gave birth, he would swallow the baby, just like any great father would. So, because of this practice, Hades, Hera, Hestia, Demeter, and Poseidon were all swallowed by their own father. Naturally, Rhea was sick and tired of this behavior. She wanted to save her last child from the hands of his own father. So when Zeus was born, she managed to hide him in a cave at the island of Crete. However, Kronos was waiting to swallow yet another one of his children, so Rhea had to come up with a plan. She went back to Kronos and gave him a blanket that seemed as if it had a baby in it. However, that was Rhea's plan. The blanket, instead of a baby, had a stone inside of it. Kronos did not realize that he had a stone in his grasp, and in a swift, without thinking too much of it, he ended up swallowing it. Rhea cried. Rhea cried again, just like she did each time her husband swallowed her child. But this time, the cries were not of sorrow, but of happiness that at least one of her children can live a life. Rhea had left her son Zeus in the care of the nymphs and the Caribbeans at the island of Crete, where he was breastfed with the milk of the Almaphia goat, strengthening him as he grew older. The god Zeus grew into a powerful legendary deity, ready to fulfill his destiny and save his siblings from their father. Zeus was visited by Metis, a powerful deity from whom he received a potion that would prove to be a decisive gift for his journey. Zeus went to Mount Arthurus in disguise and gave his father the potion given to him by Metis. Kronos, in his own arrogance, never thought anyone could plot against him. He drank the entire potion, and within seconds, he was on his knees. The potion made him terribly sick, causing him to vomit, throwing up Rhea's other children, and the stone. Zeus, now alongside his siblings, filled with absolute madness and rage, challenged Kronos and his titans for the throne of the god. Both sides began to come up with various strategies. The titans at Mount Arthurus, and the gods at Mount Olympus. Zeus understood the sheer strength of the titans. He knew that he won't be able to win such a battle with just his siblings by his side. Zeus went to the depths of Tartarus and freed the one-eyed Cyclops that were locked away by Uranus. These creatures, as a gesture of gratitude, forged 3 weapons for the gods: the lightning bolt for the almighty Zeus, the helm of terror for Hades, and a majestic trident for Poseidon. This legendary battle between the gods and the titans went on for 10 whole years, until Zeus decided to free the Hecatoncheires from Tartarus as well. These grotesque creatures with hundreds of arms proved to be fatal for the titans in this legendary war. Zeus, seeing the tide of the battle shifting in his favor, gathered all his might in his already powerful lightning bolt and struck Kronos with such an outstanding blow that it shook the entire universe. Kronos was knocked out, and the Olympian gods came out on top, winning the battle and subduing the titans. Kronos and his allies were sent to the depths of Tartarus, with the Hecatoncheires becoming the jailers of Tartarus. Zeus reserved a special punishment for Atlas, who was the general of the Titanic troops. He was condemned to bear the weight of the entire universe on his shoulder for all eternity. Zeus became the chief of all gods, but he also had the same concern as his father Kronos. However, Zeus was able to fight off all challenges to his power, even the monster Typhon, and remained the supreme ruler of Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. Now Prometheus, who was also one of the titans that did not fight alongside Kronos, was forgiven, and he was tasked with creating the man from mud and clay. But he tried to trick Zeus, and he managed to give fire to the men, which angered Zeus, causing him to create Pandora, the first woman of stunning beauty and wealth, with a deceptive heart and a lying tongue. He also gave her a box, which she was commanded to never open. But her curiosity eventually got the better of her, and she opened the box, releasing all kinds of evil, plagues, misfortune, and hope that lied at the very end of the box. Now this was the story of how these mythological beings came into existence. From the works of Homer and Hesiod, we can tell that unlike the Abrahamic God, who is presented as the most omnibenevolent being in most modern religions, the god of Greek mythology possessed very human-like trait. They had a heart to fall in love, yet they possessed the mind to do evil. They were petty in their actions, motivated by revenge or by lust for power. Arrogance and pride were one of their key traits, and they acted based on instincts that were not godlike, but instead like a human. While polytheism was rooted deeply into the Greek culture, its relevance in modern day is just not that huge. While I do believe that the petty nature of some of the Greek gods were less appealing compared to all-loving nature of the Abrahamic god, there are a lot of other factors that played a huge part in the downfall of Greek mythology. It is hard to pinpoint exactly when polytheism started to die down, but a lot of people believe it was the emergence of Christianity across Europe that led to the eventual downfall of the Greek gods. The Greeks, they never tried to convert people into believing in their gods, and they never had the scriptures and texts to spread the teachings of the religion either, because of which the dominance of Christianity across Europe was inevitable. It is believed that people stopped believing in the Greek gods by 800 AD, when the worshipping of pagan gods were deemed illegal due to the dominance of Christianity. So, does that mean the polytheistic religion of ancient Greek is dead now? Well, not exactly. In modern Greece, a few thousand people practice a religion called Hellenism, which is predicated on the premise of reviving and connecting with the ancient Greek culture. These people are referred to as Hellens, or Greek pagans, and instead of literally worshipping the Greek gods, they honor them through different events. One of these events is called Promethea, which is an event new to this religion, as it was not practiced in ancient Greece. It is celebrated to honor the titan Prometheus, who stole the fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. So it is safe to say that the veil of ancient Greece still lives on and will continue to thrive for many, many more years to come. Ancient Greece is filled with a beautiful history. And while it does have its fair share of gruesome events too, it is a fascination for historians and archaeologists from all over the world. The values of ancient Greeks were deeply connected with their gods. Their beliefs were according to the will of their gods, and their lives were dedicated to pleasing their gods. I hope this helps you truly grasp how rich the ancient Greek culture was. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. There are millions of stories to be unraveled about this beautifully mysterious civilization.